Hey everybody. So today I'm going to talk about my emotional response to Detroit Become Human. Last week I did it on Mankind Divided and there was clipping out, so I'm going to try to make it pretty short and sweet. Make it only about 9 minutes, so quick. Anyway, there were parts I didn't say about Mankind Divided that I should have said, which was what it represented to me overall. The experience is, you'll see it in my stream if you watch my stream on Mixer. Look on Mixer stream, look for Magna and the Power. Simple as that. But I want to get to Detroit Become Human. I don't want to waste time, so I'm going to talk about Kara being the caretaker. First off, Kara was the reason why the game was made, so the main reason I want to talk about her is because I could kind of fit in her footsteps a little bit. The association she carries with who she's taking care of is important, especially at a reveal at a certain point. So I'm just going to say this about Detroit Become Human. It's very much relearning about humanity through technology. I don't think it's necessarily only that. If I were to look at Mankind Divided and Detroit Become Human, that's why I talked about them simultaneously, one after another. My emotional response has always been like, it's about division between people, humanity, civilizations, societies, countries, states, cities, whatever, places on the wall, on the border, all that stuff. Like, all this talk is only immensely shown in something like Mankind Divided, especially, where they put a wall between them. And in Detroit Become Human, it's just the sketchings of that happening, leading to that problem. And yeah, the answer is, what are the people going to do in response? But the biggest problem is, the fallacy of the whole argument is, why manipulate people? Why manipulate anything that's different? Just because you get the better, so to speak. Because that's really the end goal of most things when you think about capitalism. You're only a capitalist if you actually have money, like at that level, at that billionaire level, at that Jeff Bezos level. So I'm not a capitalist because I don't make that money. Even if I live in a capitalist system, I'm not a capitalist because I don't make that money. That's the end of the drama right there, of trying to say you're not a capitalist. Of course I'm not. I don't have that kind of money. How can I be a capitalist if I don't have that kind of money? Working your own business, you can work your own business and never be a capitalist, because overall, that's how the system runs, through money. And that's why there's so much criminality, because if you have something that could gain and means of anything, any process around you, you're going to have criminals. If you don't have that and you have to get people to want to work for you, yeah, eventually it's not going to work out. That's why slavery ended, because eventually it's not going to work out. But if you have money, you can manipulate everybody in society, in the whole world. I think Detroit Become Human is the means to support an argument that there is a possibility of people learning something through technology. That's why I liked it a lot, because it really built that idea and interface into like, oh shit, there is something more about humanity that we've forgotten. And we don't want to use anymore because it's easier to entangle ourselves with technology and use that to manipulate the foundations around us. Or, in more sweeter terms for most people, because people did it to me, I want to do it to them. War. There's no such thing as peace, which was my last point and my other one. I think too much of the dichotomy of saying that it's war or peace, and it's as simple as that. That shows already the manufacturing of, if you think there's never going to be conflicts, that's a problem. But if you think every conflict has to lead to a war, that's a problem too. You're an idiot. You really do want to suffer then. You don't want to realize that you can have weaknesses too. And it doesn't mean someone's going to trample all over you. Unless basically you're okay with identifying with that same sort of thing too. If you're into that sort of thing, as 100 Darren Kavanoki said. 100 no cuffs, unless you're into that sort of thing. So yeah, this very much got emotional to me, because Kara was a representation of that to me. That caretaker in a society that doesn't caretake. to themselves or around. Let's get on to the next one. About Connor and his evidence and collection and looking into things. So important too. What I liked about Connor was he actually was that way, very neutral, and he looked at evidence for what it was. He didn't try to get answers and guidance from anybody else. He literally looked at everything, including the people around him, to find those answers. There was nothing else to represent that for him or a belief. It was find the answers and that's it. And you could go in any direction where it leads to, but you're still looking at it from a very neutral perspective to find those answers, to research the evidence. So if I question things, it's because I'm researching the evidence, not because, oh, he just wants to go against things. No. I've seen people rebel. I think that's the one thing about my next character, the next character in the story, Marcus, and his grand journey to servitude or the fight against the problem of humanity. Rather than connected, the people closed androids off to just work rather than be. And I think that's important overall. But Marcus's story is very important because he basically shows the identity of, do you want to rebel like everybody else? And I think that's what I pointed out last time, that Tiananmen Square thing in 1955, that are you trying to change the world, or are you just trying to be yourself and not let the world change you? And I think too many people assume that everybody's identity has already been compromised before they meet him. So that neurosis, that dichotomy of what people think, like over the years, I've grown up around society and heard so many people talk about Alex Jones. Anybody with a mindset that's already triggered up here and thinks everybody else is that easily manipulated. Good luck with finding that answer, because you don't actually talk to the people and don't let them speak. And you just want them to give you answers from your answers. Sometimes people just want to speak without having your annotations beforehand. Just saying. That's how I am. If you're going to grandstand your own point of view, you're going to just have that. You won't hear much from me at that point. Because if you want to act like that, you're an asshole because you want to be. Not because you're choosing to be. Because if you actually choose to be, that would be yourself. If you're wanting to be, it's because you're taking it out on other people. Because you didn't want to work on a problem when it was there in front of you. I've seen that before in society. I don't want to work on a problem, but I'll work on you. Good job. Bet that works out pretty well by the end of life. And I'm not talking about belief or religion at the end of life. I'm talking about the fact that most people in general have this epiphany at the end of their lives. They don't actually recognize what they're doing in the regular life because they're grandstanding on it. They're grandstanding on how they're thinking through their lives. Or they have a wall up. Right? Maybe I do too. But I definitely think I've learned a way to process it. Not necessarily have the greatest answer for it, but I definitely can tell you that my answer is not everybody else's. And that's not naive. That's more like, hey, you know what? If I understand myself, why would I do something that doesn't compromise me? Because it's not a risk if it's what everybody else is doing. That's what I've learned. And rather than connect with the close androids, which literally are offshoots of them, they make them workers. They make them in servitude to them. I think that's funny, but it is something that has happened many times before. Technology is becoming the slaves of this generation. That's a hard thing to say, but it's kind of reality. There are slaves. And it's funny, I love The Matrix. I think, thinking about Detroit Become Human, I always go back to The Matrix for some reason, because my favorite scene, this is where I'll end. My favorite scene is when Neo gets to the car, and raining, the bridge. He goes under the bridge, gets to the car, goes inside, sits down. Trinity's there. And he just wants to leave, wants to get out of the car, And she turns to him and says, you know where that road ends. You know exactly where it ends. And that's the reality of most people. They literally take that blue pill about things rather than taking the red pill and learning the truth about their realities of who they are. Because most of that story was about Neo, not about Agent Smith at all. It was about their entanglement, but it was also about the fact that Neo didn't understand himself completely. That's why learning the truth about yourself is the hardest thing to do. And I think Detroit Become Human really shows that in these androids and this technology around us and what it does for us and what we do to it. Represents a lot of things in society right now. So that's all, guys. Hope you enjoyed that.